Hi Year 11, it's Mrs Shanaher here again. So just another 6-mark question that I've chosen to have a look at with you. And this is all about the movement of water through a tree. You might have movement of water through a plant. It's the same sort of thing. So let's have a look at it. We'll have a bit of a chat about what to include, each of the different parts, and see if we can put an answer together. So this is just an old mock exam that I've just grabbed here, where somebody hadn't attempted it, which is a real shame because it's actually easy to get quite a lot of marks on this type of question. So the arrows in figure 11 show the direction of water movement through a tree. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's look at this question. Explain, which is tell the examiner how water is moved from the soil through the plant and into the air, and it's worth 6 marks. So let's just get a bit of a general idea of what's going on. I've added these numbers on here. So first of all, you want to be talking about the roots. Let me just use my pen. So roots are obviously designed to absorb water, and they have root hair cells. So water will move in through the roots by a process called osmosis. So anything to do with water, you want to be talking about osmosis. So water will move into the root hair cells, and then it will move into the xylem through the stem or the trunk. Here, if it's a tree, it's obviously the trunk. So you've got xylem. So xylem are tubes which carry water from the roots up to the leaves. So they only carry it in one direction only. And remember, they're carrying water against the force of gravity. So gravity wants to pull everything down, and yet you've got water moving in through the roots, up the xylem into the leaves. So we'll be talking about xylem tubes. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the leaves. So plants and trees lose water through their leaves through tiny little holes called stomata, which tend to be on the underside of leaves. You do get some plants that have stomata on the top of their leaves as well. So we'll talk about these in each of the different parts. It might just be worth remembering your teacher will have drawn a root hair cell from a plant. So this tends to be quite commonly asked about. That's the vacuole. Hopefully you've worked that out. And the nucleus. So the vacuole obviously will contains cell sap. We've got an outer cell wall. Sorry, hang on, I need to cough. Sorry. So that we've got a thin cell wall so that water can move through easily. And then inside you've got your cell membrane. So it's always the cell wall on the outside on a plant cell. It's made of cellulose for structure and support. Nucleus to control the cell and contains genetic information. And it's this extension section here. This will increase the surface area of the root. So you've got all these different root hair cells with these extensions to increase the surface area, which we're going to talk about. Just for extra information, root hair cells are packed with mitochondria, because I know this question is asking about water, but something else that you can get asked about is about the movement of mineral ions. And mitochondria are involved in the active transport of mineral ions. So just as a little bit of a sideline, it's not to do with this question, just be mindful of that. There aren't any chloroplasts here, because of course it's underneath the ground. Sunlight won't reach underneath the ground, so root hair cells don't photosynthesize. That's why there's no chloroplasts. So just in case you get asked about that. So let's deal with this one section at a time. So first of all, let's deal with the roots. So water enters roots. I'm going to do it as bullet points again. So water enters the roots through root hair cells, which have, now you can say large, they call them a projection or an extension, which have large projections or extensions. That's this bit here on my amazing drawing, not. Large projections, extensions, to increase the surface area of the root. And water enters by osmosis. You've got to get the word osmosis in here. So water enters roots through root hair cells, which have a large projection extension to increase the surface area of the root. It does this by osmosis, which is specifically the movement of water. So it does this by osmosis, which is the movement of water from a dilute solution, which will be in the soil, to a more concentrated solution inside the root hair cells. So that's the root. Let's do the stem now, or the trunk if it's a tree. Depends if you get asked about plants or trees, it's the same thing anyway. So water travels up through xylem tubes. Now the thing about xylem tubes, there are a few things that you need to know about. So they are very, very long, thin tubes in here. A teacher might have shown you some celery. You can easily see the xylem tubes in celery. Xylem are made from dead cells. So you've got these very, very long, thin, dead cells. So they've lost all the vacuoles, all the cytoplasm has gone, cell membrane has gone. And then you get lignin in the walls of xylem tubes. And that makes it very, very strong and waterproof. So water travels up through the xylem tubes, which are long, thin, and hollow. They are made from dead cells. So just if you are asked about phloem, that is a difference. That xylem tubes are made from dead cells, but phloem are made from living cells. Xylem will only take water from the roots up to the leaves, whereas phloem will move sucrose, which is a sugar, in all different directions around the plant. So just in case you get asked about similarities and differences between xylem and phloem, do have a look at that if you're not familiar. So xylem, going back to xylem tubes, they're made from dead cells, and you can say with lignified walls or walls made of lignin. With walls made from lignin, Lignin, which is for strength and makes them waterproof, which is obviously handy when you're trying to move water around. So water's moved in through the roots by osmosis, through the root hair cells. It's moved up through xylem tubes, which are long, thin and hollow. And you need to mention lignin, that's what they're looking for. And it's going up to the leaves. So water is pulled up due to transpiration. So transpiration is the movement of water through a plant or a tree, in through the roots, up the xylem to the leaves, and then it's lost, and that forces more water to move in. So that is called transpiration. So your final one are your leaves. So water moves into leaves by, you've guessed it, osmosis first of all, and it will go into the vacuoles, and sometimes it tracks along the cell wall. So water moves into leaves by osmosis and evaporates or is lost through the stomata by diffusion, and evaporates through the stomata. Oh, I've done it again, I've run out of room again. Through the stomata by diffusion, which is the movement of a liquid or a gas from a high to a low concentration. So it's obviously higher in the leaves compared with the surrounding air. And so water is lost through leaves, through the stomata, these pores on the bottom. So hopefully now you can see, if you get a 6-mark question, sort of the level of detail. For the leaves, you've got to talk about evaporation, which is obviously a change of state. It's liquid to gas through the stomata by diffusion. So hopefully that helps. Good luck, guys. Thank you. I'll see you all soon.